Good evening, everyone, and welcome all to the third episode of Photoshop Adventures, which is
Yay!
where we explore the magical world of Photoshop.
Awesome.
With me on the show tonight, I have the wonderful Miss G. Greenslade. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
I am very good.
Awesome.
So, tonight is a bit of a weird episode
It is a bit of a
because
weird episode.
it's not actually mostly about Photoshop.
No.
Would you like to tell our lovely viewers what we have in store tonight?
So, alright, a massive part of working in Photoshop is also this horrible other program called Lightroom. Actually, it's not horrible, but it's just that it is another program called Lightroom, and it deals with all of your raw workflow and things like that. And it's sort of for, it's cool. We'll talk about that. Then in our life-saving tips segment, I had my tongue tied this evening, Matt. Awesome. Okay. So then we have in Photoshop for Mad Noobs, it's actually Lightroom for Mad Noobs, and we're going to be talking about importing and exposures and all that sort of stuff. Then life-saving tips comes after that, so that'll be 10, 15 minutes away. And then there'll be, after that, Photoshop for Crazy Nerds, and that segment is actually just hardcore Lightroom. So we'll be talking about straightening and brush adjustments and gradiated filters and presets and rating and starring. I might even get to that in the first segment. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then we have our burn hammer after that. Then at about 9:50 would it be? Yeah, 9:50 we've got a freeform section where I'll just be, we'll have our break, and then we'll have a freeform section where we'll just sort of, people can ask questions. We'll Photoshop some shits. We'll do some stuff. It'd be great. Yeah.
Okie doke.
All right.
Looks like a pretty full-on episode tonight.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Let's
Part
get
1,
cracking.
Lightroom for Mad
Lightroom
Noobs.
for Mad Noobs. So, all right, give me a second. I will bring up Lightroom. Here we go. This is Lightroom, and this is so for anyone who hasn't seen Lightroom, this is actually Lightroom number 3. There's Lightroom 4 out at the moment. I'm using Lightroom 3 just because, honestly, Lightroom 4 is a little bit slow for me, and I find it a little bit chunky. But if you've got one of the newer computers, you'll have no problems, I'm sure. There's some really significant differences, though, and yeah. But all the fundamentals of what we'll do today will pretty much be carryover into Lightroom 4. So, where should I begin, Matt? Shall we start with importing stuff into... No, I'll start with the tabs up in the
Sounds like a...
Tabs. Yeah, so up the top here, on yours, you won't have my logo up in the corner there. You'll have Lightroom 4. You can change that. But anyway, and over here you've got Library, the Develop module, you have the Slideshow module, you have a Print module, and you also have Web as well. And so Library is where all your images are kind of dealt with, their locations, their keywords, all of those sort of things. As you can see in this sidebar, that's all of your metadata is sort of dealt with in here. And we have over here, these are all of my hard drives and what I've got on each hard drive. And there's other stuff here as well, like publishing and all of that. Over here in the develop screen, this is where we can sort of, put some effects on photos. Whoa, that's a bit scary. And all of that. And this is where we kind of deal with what our photo is going to look like in the end. I'm not going to talk much about slideshow, print, and web today, only because we've got a massive episode, so I think we might as well just get into the guts of Lightroom instead of talking about slideshows and print and web.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
I think that's a good plan. So, to begin with, I think I'll start from the beginning. Let's import some stuff into Lightroom. How's that sound, Matt?
Definitely.
Definitely.
That sounds good to me.
All right, so unlike other programs that are kind of like this, you might have used Adobe Bridge before, where you can just pretty much navigate your hard drive. Lightroom asks you to physically import stuff. So over here, when I said these are my hard drives, I've actually had to, bring them into my Lightroom catalog and tell Lightroom to be in here. So all you need to do that, to import your images into Lightroom, is go to File, Import Photos, and you'll come up with this dialog. Alright, so over this side, up here we've got whether we want to copy them as DNGs, whether we want to copy photos to a new location and add them to catalog, whether we want to move them, and hang on, I'll go to the actual images first. Okay, so to import my images into Lightroom, I come over here, this is my source, and I'm picking my hard drive, so I'm picking Fenchurch, that's where I keep all my stuffs, and I'm just going to navigate to a folder. I'm wondering, who do I feel like importing tonight? Actually, I'll just bring in some of Annie's actors' headshots. Let's do that. Alright. Oh, there's stuff in here that shouldn't be in there. That's cool. So, so now you can see up here that copy as DNG. I can copy photos to a new location and add them to the catalog. So a different location on the hard drive. I can move the photos to a new location, or I can just simply add the photos without moving them. I like to organize my file system myself, so I'm just going to add without moving them. Over here, we've got some kind of, up here we've got file handling. You'll get into this a bit further later. I tend to keep mine on minimal, but that does slow down your process. So what these render previews are is basically Photoshop creates JPEGs of what you're seeing when you're working in Lightroom, and this is just basically what are the previews gonna, what size are the previews gonna be when you bring them in. I've got them on minimal. You should have them on 1.1 to be perfectly honest. It'll take a lot longer to import them, but it will. Once you're actually working on your images, it'll be a lot quicker. Does that make any?
So yeah, the trade-off here is how quickly you want to import them versus how much sort of quality you want in your thumbnails, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah, and it's just thumbnails. It's not the actual image itself. The beauty of RAW is that we never touch the original RAWs. It's saving our pixels. Yay! And by doing this, when we import stuff, it's kind of it'll never touch those original CR2s. It may create sidecar files like XMPs, or it'll keep the data in the library, but it doesn't actually edit these, CR2s, NEFs, whatever your camera has. Cool. So we can also click which ones we want to, import and not. We can do our select all here, and in that case, I decided I didn't want all of them. So I'm just going to click all photos, and I've just done something, and I don't know what I've done. That's amazing. Oh, here we go. So I just clicked this top bit here. It just actually hid them all from me. So I'm just going to check off the ones that I don't need to bring in here, because I've accidentally downloaded something into that folder, because I'm really organized and all. We can change our thumbnail size down here, and yeah, click import. So it'll bring it into your library, and that folder will now appear over here, and you'll be able to click in and see what's going into what folder and all of that sort of thing. Cool. So the cool part.
So yeah, the good thing about importing with Lightroom is that once you do the import, Lightroom knows every single piece of information about your images, all in the one place.
Yeah. So if we come over here, for example, so this is where, I guess in the library module, we've got things like quick develop, and we can, do some little bits and pieces to our images here. I honestly never use this quick develop module. I think it's kind of a bit, ridiculous. But for example, we can click on that, and we can up our exposure a little bit and things like that. But when I've double-clicked, it's brought it up full screen, so I'm just going to click on grid view so I can go back down. And now I want to basically add keywords and things like that. So the idea of adding keywords is kind of like searching Google, if that makes any sense to anybody. You can type into your Lightroom catalog and go, I want photos of, say, well, in this case, this is Annie. So I want photos of Annie. I type Annie's name into my catalog somewhere, and then, I'll be able to find Annie. Or I'll be able to select from, so basically, down here, we can type in our keywords. So Annie, she's a singer, and I spelled that wrong. Songwriter, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I meant to click here, aren't I? Yeah, anyway, but I can click up here as well.
Yeah.
And they come down here. You separate those by a comma as well when you're typing in there. So you
Yep.
just, yeah.
So essentially, the more descriptive you are about the images, the more useful this feature becomes, because it could be 3 years down the track and you're working on some other project and you need a photo of
Annie.
Annie, or like puppy barking at the sun, or something like that, and it's so helpful to just be able to type in whatever you want, and then have it sort through all of the photos for you.
That's it. The other thing that's important is coming down to this metadata tab. So you can put presets into your metadata, so when you actually import, you can you can fill in all this information. You can put your copyright in. You can put, who you are. You can put your phone number into it if you want. You can do all kinds of stuff in this sort of area. I probably won't go too much into it at the moment, but here we go, creator address, your city, blah, blah, blah. And when you click, actually, my name is G Greenslade, so I'll do that. And my address, let's not share that on the internet, shall we? I'm from Adelaide, and blah, blah, blah. All right, done. Save this as new preset, so we'll go save. And we'll call this create. Okay, so when basically I come into here and go click on preset, I've just clicked on G Greenslade and it's put my information, creator, G Greenslade in there. So all that does is basically say you want to always import all your images to have that, you can use that preset to do things like that. I won't go quite into that at this stage, but just so you know, you can save a preset with all your metadata and apply them to all your images and things. So there we go, and that'll hopefully stick with your photo all the way through, like it goes through to JPEG. When you export it as a JPEG or a TIFF or anything like that, it'll contain that metadata.
Yep.
Beautiful, and we can do things like select all of these. So as I said before, I've just put in that G Greenslade thing. I'm just going to go sync metadata, and that's basically synchronized that with every single image in there. You can also do that on import as well. So cool. All right, I'm just going to come. Oh, you were going to say something, Matt?
Yeah, I think we've got time to do a quick export from here.
Quick export? Cool.
Yep.
All right, so Annie being a goober. Okay, so I'm just going to do some quick things in here. Up here is our histogram. You can drag around your stuff like that. I'm just going to quickly do my exposure on there. I'm going to right-click on my image down here, and it's got a little thing going export. I'm going to click on export. Cool. So this is where you get to choose where you want to export your images to. Now, you can't view a raw file or a CR2 or anything like that. When we talked about this in our last episode 2 weeks ago now. Whoa. About CR2s kind of being, you need a raw viewer to view them. I'm going to export this so it can be viewed, say, on Annie's webpage, for example. So I'm just going to ask that to export to the desktop for the time being, but you can put that on any folder by going specific folder and coming down to here and going choose, and you can navigate. But yeah, I'm just going to go straight to the desktop now. And I've asked it's saying to put in the subfolder JPEG export. So basically, I'm going to put this Photoshop in a folder called Photoshop Adventures. And there we go. You can do stuff like file renaming in here. I'm going to export this I'll do it as a JPEG. Remember that JPEG is your final step. So if you've decided in Lightroom that you might want to edit it more in Photoshop, maybe go for a PSD or a TIFF. But in my case, I'm just going to quickly export it. All right, I'm going to resize it to fit because, as we said, it was for Annie's webpage. If you're just exporting this to work in Photoshop, don't click on resize to fit. We want it to not be resized. We want the biggest image possible.
Yep, all of the pixels.
All of the pixels. Actually, no, I'll do an export into Photoshop. So we'll go to PSD, and we won't resize it to fit. There's sharpening here. There's all kinds of stuff. Down here, you can do your watermarking. In Lightroom 3, you can only do like a text and things like that. I think in 4, it's got extra options. Down here on the post-processing tab, I'm just going to ask it to open into Photoshop. In this case, I've got CS5. So you just click whichever Photoshop you want, or you can actually get it to open in other programs. For example, I use Portrait Professional